Hi, I'm Bob Holmes, and I'd like to give you some of my ideas on seeing and composition. You know, there are days when you get up and you think the muse has deserted you. You know, you think, oh God, I'm never going to see another photograph again. And there are certain crutches that you can use to help you overcome that. One is looking at lines, looking at different elements of composition. And if you use diagonal lines, it can give a lot of vitality to a photograph. Diagonals give a feeling of energy. Horizontal lines are more calm. But looking at those different elements can really help you see things a little bit differently and give a kickstart to your creative seeing. There are certain fundamental elements to a photograph that can make it rise above just an ordinary snapshot. One of the most important things is to look at gesture. You have to be anal when you're taking photographs and look at little details. And the smallest gesture can make or break a photograph. Look for position of hands, feet, legs, or things that are totally abstract. It doesn't have to be a person or gestures in that sense. One of the things that really will elevate a photograph is having some punctuation. For me, it's an extremely important aspect. You can get a fairly ordinary looking photograph that doesn't really sing, but if you can get some little punctuation in it, it'll just bring it alive. And that punctuation can be almost anything. It can be a splash of color, a person, a dog. I think it's very important for photographs to have an element of energy. You want them to be compelling. You want people to look at them and feel attracted to them. And one way you can do this is by showing movement in the photograph. For example, if I'm photographing monks in Asia, I pan with them and let them become blurred so that there is a feeling of movement. And I use blur quite a lot, using slow shutter speeds, learning to hold the camera very steadily down to, let's say, a 15th of a second, and learning to hold it steadily with the elbows tucked in, squeeze gently, and let the subject move, which will give a little bit of blur, not too much blur, not so much that it makes the subject unreadable, but enough to give this feeling of movement. Whenever I go out on a shoot, you know, I've been working as a photographer now for over 40 years. I know I don't look old enough, but I really have. 40 years, God. And I still go out not having a clue what I'm going to shoot. So I go out with a pretty blank mind. Minor White used to say that, I thought Minor White wrote about photography probably better than anyone. I've never been a huge fan of his photographs, but he wrote about it beautifully, and he likened his mind to a sheet of unexposed film. And he would say that he walked around waiting for an image to impress itself on him. He wasn't so much searching for the image as waiting for the image to find him. And his mind was receptive to that, as a piece of unexposed film would be. And I think that's how I work. I walk around and wait for something to impress itself on me, and then I take a photograph. To learn composition, the advice is always the same. It's to look at other visual mediums and see what you respond to. When you're looking at anything, do it consciously and try to understand what it is you like about what you're seeing. And eventually you'll determine what it is that turns you on, basically. You know, I've got a number of photography books that I look at when I'm feeling that I've lost it and I'm never going to see again. I turn to books like Cartier-Bresson, Salgado, Irving Penn. Ironically, they tend to be all black and white photographers, although I shoot in colour. The only colour photographer that I look at regularly is Alex Webb, Magnum photographer, whose work I think is phenomenal. The most important thing about photography is learning to see. Don't just look, but see.
Okay. Bob, thank you for sharing those tips. It's awesome, as always, to have you on the show.
Thanks, Mark.
And will you guys remember to subscribe so you don't miss any of our videos coming up? Be sure to follow Bob on Instagram.
Bob Holmes Photo, I think.
Okay, well, it's right down here. You can follow me as well. And leave your comments. Bob and I love reading them, and we'll answer them.
Only if they're good.
Only if they're good. If you tell him he looks like Sean Connery, that's the best comment
Oh,
you
yeah.
can leave.
Well, then it'll be flooded with
It
comments,
would be
yeah.
flooded. He already knows that. So remember, until next time, to get out and capture your own images of life.
Thank you for watching.
Okay, so that's it. We got it.